Okay, so we are pretty much done with the first kind of branch of lipids and what their structures are and everything. And the other type of, lipid that we need to talk about are steroids. So, what defines a steroid is actually the nucleus of it. So, this particular arrangement where we have three cyclohexane rings in this orientation and then a cyclopentane ring is the defining characteristic of a steroid that's called the nucleus. So it is typical because there's a lot of different structures of these. I'll show you some kind of common ones down below, but you'll see that whenever people talk about the steroids, they always orient the steroids the same way, and they label this ring as the A ring, B ring, C ring, and D ring, so that everybody across the entire world calls the same parts of the molecule the same thing. And then additionally, you can see I have this numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we skip up to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So this might seem a little bit awkward or strange, but it is for a reason that it is this kind of zigzag numbering pattern through that steroid. And it's from the biosynthesis. So how your body actually makes these molecules is what makes that numbering pattern. We're not going to go through that, but that's where it comes from. So just to introduce you to our first and most common steroid is cholesterol. So you guys hear about this all the time. You hear about your cholesterol levels in your blood. We'll talk about that in a moment. But what is cholesterol? So it is the steroid nucleus. We have that same A, B, C, and D rings. But now we have a couple new features. So we're going to have a methyl group. We'll have a methyl group here at carbon number 10 and another methyl group at carbon number 13. We have a hydroxide, so that's why you get an "ol" at the end. Cholesterol is because of the hydroxide. We have a double bond here between carbons 5 and 6. And then lastly, we have this defining alkyl chain over here on the very end of the molecule, or the very top of the molecule. So this particular structure is cholesterol. So cholesterol is important in our bodies. Specifically, it's common in a lot of different places, specifically in our cell membranes, also in our myelin sheaths, in our nerves and brains, in our liver, and in our skin. So the cholesterol in our skin is what gets converted with light to vitamin D. In our adrenal glands, it's converted into steroid hormones, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And then in our liver, it could be made in our liver from different things that we eat, or we could also just eat cholesterol obtained from our diet. So why is cholesterol such a big deal? It seems like it's kind of everywhere, and it's good to have it because it's in all of these different things. However, when you eat too much saturated fat, so butters or just the animal fats in general, it stimulates more cholesterol production. So our body and our liver takes those saturated fats and winds them up into these steroid backbones, or really cholesterol. So the more saturated fat you eat, the more cholesterol that you are going to produce. Not necessarily if you just eat the cholesterol itself. Then you have any excess cholesterol that your body doesn't need is deposited in your arteries as plaque, and that restricts your blood flow. That's what you hear about with your arteries getting smaller and smaller. That's the cholesterol piling up, and that puts you at risk for things such as diabetes, heart disease, or heart attack. Additionally, cholesterol can be converted into something called bile salt. So in your liver, your body will take the cholesterol that you have, and it turns it into it adds a different chain. So up here, this chain will just change. This bottom part is pretty much the same, but the chain changes to make it a more polar chain. We have add on an amino alcohol onto there. The actual structure of it is not super important, but it acts like a soap. So we add on a polar part of that molecule, and it ends up acting like soap with a polar and non-polar region of the molecule. And that cholesterol or bile salts now that we've transformed it into can break apart fat and help kind of scrub fat out of our bodies.